Hello, so today we are going to continue our review of Algebra 1 material. So we're going to look at solving equations. So our objective for today is that you will be able to solve multi-step equations. So once again in class we will do our warm-up and exit ticket. But on this video we are going to look at solving equations and the steps you should take to solve them. And we will look at ones that also have fractions and decimals. So, to start off, solving equations, you always want to distribute everything first. You also want to check if there are fractions. And if there are, you multiply the entire equation by the GCF, the greatest common factor, of the denominators in order to clear out the fractions and make the equation easier to solve. Then you want to get all variables to one side, all constants to the other, and solve for x. So to undo any addition, you use subtraction. To undo any subtraction, you use addition. Undo any multiplication by division, and undo any division by multiplication. So you're doing like the opposite operation. But that was a lot of talking. It'll be easier to just look at examples. So for this first one, we have 145 equals 1 plus 4 times the quantity 4x plus 8. So you have to distribute first in this one. So we're going to do 4 times the 4x gives us 16x. And 4 times 8 is 32. So plus 32. And copy everything else down. So we can combine this 1 plus 32 on this side. So we have 145 equals 33 plus 16x. So now we only have one x term on this side, so we want to move this 33 to the other side. So since it is positive, we're going to undo that by subtracting it. So we're going to do minus 33, which gives us 112 equals 16x. So now our last step is to undo this multiplication of the 16 and the x to get the x alone. So we're going to divide both sides by 16. Also, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So these 16s cancel out and we get x equals 7. That's our final answer. So you could always check your work by plugging it back in. So you get like 145 equals 1 plus 4 times 7 plus 8. Oh no. Plus 8. And you would follow your order of operations. So 145 equals, we're really just simplifying the right side. 1 plus 4, you want to do what's in the parentheses first. So 4 times 7, 28 plus 8. So you get 1 plus 4 times 36, which is 1 plus 144, and it's 145. So you get 145 equals 145, so you know that 7 is the correct answer. So I won't make you check your work for these, but that's if you're ever unsure, you can go check your work. Always good to do on quizzes. So the next example, 12 equals 6 times 8 minus 5x plus 6 times 5x minus 6. So we're going to have to distribute twice in this one. So we do 6 times 8, 48. 6 times negative 5x is minus 30x. Plus 6 times 5x is 30x. And 6 times negative 6 is negative 36 equals 12. So next we want to combine our like terms. So we have 48 minus 36, which gives us 12. Then we have minus 30x plus 30x. They cancel out, so we don't have any x's, and we're just left with 12 equals 12. Now, this is one of our special cases, so since 12 does equal 12, we get all real numbers as our solution, or like infinite solutions, because any number you plug in for x, so x could equal 1, it's going to give you a true statement. X equals 2, it's going to give you a true statement. X equals negative 502, it'll give you a true statement. Now, if this was, let's say, 12 equals 15, that is not a true statement, so you would get no solution, meaning that anything you plugged in for x would not give you a true statement at the end. Next example, we have to distribute in -1 because there's a negative in front of this sign. So -1 times 6 gives us -6. -1 times 7x minus 7x equals -6. We distribute this whole -2. So -2 times -8 is plus 16. -2 times -4x is minus 8x. Now we go through and we combine our like terms. So on this side we have nothing to combine, but on this side we have -6 plus 16. So that gives us 10 minus 8x. And then we can just copy down everything else. Now we want to get all variables to one side and all constants to the other. So in order to do that, I'm going to move all of my variables to the left. So to get rid of 8x, I'm going to add 8x to both sides. So that will cancel out, and we are left with positive x. So that means I want to move this -6 to the right side. So to undo the subtraction, I'm going to add 6. So we get x equals 16. And that is our final answer for this problem. There is no end multiplication or division to do. Now we have ones with fractions. So as I said in the beginning, when you have a fraction, you want to multiply the entire equation, both sides, by the greatest common factor of the denominator. So what that means is we look at our 4 and our 8s. So our greatest common factor would be 8 because 4 goes into 8 and 8 goes into 8. So we're going to multiply both sides by 8. So this 4 would go away and this would become a 2. So we do 2 times 5 is 10x. The 8s cancel out here, so we're just left with plus 11. We have to do 8 times 4 is 32 equals, this 8 also cancels out, so it equals 23. And now it looks like something that's much easier to solve. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to combine our like terms. So we have positive 11 plus 32. So we just copy down your 10x plus 43 equals 23. So now we have our 10x on the left side, so we want to move this 43 to the other side. So it's positive, so we're going to subtract it. So those cancel out, and we're left with 10x equals -20. And our last step is to divide away the 10 because it's being multiplied by the x. So -20 divided by 10 leaves us with x equals -2. So here's another one where we have fractions. So you first want to distribute because it's going to make it different for what you have to multiply. So we're going to leave our -597 over 5 equals, when you multiply fractions, you multiply the tops and then the bottoms. So we have 9 times 17 gives us 153, well, -153 over 10, because 2 times 5 is 10x, plus 9 over 2 minus 3 over 2. So now this looks like a really difficult problem, but don't worry, it is not. So we're going to look at our denominators. So we have 5, 10, 2, and 2. So we want to look at what number they all could go into. So it's going to be 10. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 10. So now this would become 1, and you multiply the top by 2. So 597 times 2, well, it was negative, so we get negative 1,194 equals, the 10s cancel out, so we get negative 153x. Plus, this becomes a 1, and you would multiply the top by 5. So 9 times 5 is 45. And this becomes a 1, you multiply the top by 5, because 10 divided by 2 is 5, minus 15. So now we want to combine all of our like terms. So we have 45 minus 15, so negative 1,194 equals negative 153x plus 30. We want to move the 30 to the left side since our x is alone on this side. So we're going to subtract 30 from both sides. So we get negative 1,224 equals negative 153x, because that cancels out. So our final step is to divide by this 153 to get the x alone, well, negative 153. A negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. So we get that x equals positive 8. You could always check your work by plugging the 8 in for the x. Our final example includes some decimals. So this example isn't too bad. So these both have an x term on the left side, so we can just combine like terms. There's no distributing. So we have 6.77 plus 2.5 gives us 9.27. X equals negative 9.27. And then our final step, this is a much simpler equation than what we just did. You divide by 9.27 to get the x alone. So x equals negative 1. So when you're dealing with decimals, you just follow the same steps. It's just more complicated numbers. So that is the end of this PowerPoint. In class, we are going to review this and do some examples. So come to class with any questions you have.